Coming up on Speedweek, the 4th of July ends the bad luck for M.O.
For Schrader, his fireworks at the end leaves him upended,
while Ender's Endo is a means to an end.
This and more next on Speedweek. In the next 30 minutes, highlights of the busiest auto racing weekend of the year. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Speed Week. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newber. The 4th of July weekend provided fireworks in Cleveland, Daytona Beach, Watkins, Glen, and other locations.
And we begin, Larry, in Cleveland, where the IndyCars made their annual visit to the shores of Lake Erie. Normally, Burke Lakefront Airport, but once a year a racetrack and the fastest road course that CART runs on. And fast was how Roberto Guerrero was performing in the first half of the 80-lap event. From pole, he built a 6-second lead before first pit stops. But then Emerson Fittipaldi passed Roberto after Guerrero lost feeling in his right foot. Mario Andretti ran second early in the race, but he was a DNF. Tom Sneva didn't lose a position in this spin, probably helped by a nudge from John Richards. Sneva wound up 8th. Allenzer Jr. is quietly moving up in the points battle. His third-place finish here moves him to 4th in the standings. And speaking of points, leader Bobby Rahal, who finished second in this race, has not finished lower than second this year if running at the end.
We got 90 points. I don't think we had 90 points until sometime in September last year. So, yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't win. And I want to win every time out. But as I say, sometimes you got to take what you can get.
Team owner Vince Granatelli and team manager Mo Nunn watched Roberto drop to 4th. Fittipaldi beat Rahal by 11.5 seconds, but there were anxious moments, especially late.
The last lap, was it a long one for you?
A very long one, because the fuel light.
Was it on?
Oh, yes, for sure.
It was M.O.'s third IndyCar win, first since Elkhart Lake last year.
The fastest supporting actors in this week's open-wheel play at Cleveland were the ARS cars. Now, was this time about a year ago that everybody was saying, how do we stop the red car? Well, the color is the same, but the driver is different. A year ago, it was Fabrizio Barbaza, and this year, it's Didier Taze. Didier's True Sports car pole again, 4 times, 4 races. But then a July 4th fireworks start. Taze, second starting Tommy Byrne in white, and Steve Millen almost 3 wide into the first significant right-hander. Inside the pack, that's Mike Groff spinning. Paul Radisich to miss. His first ARS race fizzles. Jeff Andretti suffered a bent wing, and for Groff, the second race in a row, a first-lap incident. As the blasting Belgium races to the lead, Dave Simpson, who passed up the Super V holiday picnic, ran 4th and spun under pressure from Andretti. Jeff will win 4th today. Rich Rutherford enjoyed his second straight race of improvement, qualifying 9th, but his Rockets red glare soared to 5th. A video replay of the previous week Meadowlands, Byrne just married Monday, an aggressive bridesmaid to Taze, and Millen steadily established his claim on 3rd. Tommy almost made it once to the lead, but a not-so-subtle but fair block warded him off. That, with 10 laps to go, was his last real chance.
Well, the front row for the Super V race here at Cleveland, exactly the same as it was for the Meadowlands last week. Scott Atchison and David Kudrave. The starting order determined by a 10-lap points-paying qualifying race on Saturday. The exception, Juan Manuel Fangio subbing for Dave Simpson and starting in the next to the last row. Atchison and Kudrave traded the lead before Scott took it for good 4 laps from the finish. Matt McBride scattered tires and shortened his car several inches in this grinding head-on. Matt walked away, although with a limp, and wasn't seriously injured. Atchison beat Kudrave, Robbie Groff, and Dennis Vitolo. Fangio most impressive, moving all the way up to finish 5th.
Back to the IndyCar race for a moment. Fittipaldi's victory in a March Ilmor Chevy means that all chassis engine combinations have won this year, except the Penske chassis. And ML has jumped from 22nd to 6th in points in just 2 weeks.
With 7 of 15 races completed, Rahal has 90 points. At this time last year, he had only 42, but still won the championship. On the other hand, Kevin Kogan had 37 points at this time last year. He now has only 1.
After 6 of 16 scheduled Formula One races, the points picture already has narrowed down. In a carbon copy of last year, the same 4 drivers will apparently vie again right down to the final race. Going into last week, Nigel Mansell and his Honda-powered Williams were looking for their 2nd consecutive win at Paul Ricard. Ayrton Senna was after his third straight win, and Prost shooting for his third career French Grand Prix win on this course revised here since the death of Elio De Angelis last year. Nigel qualified on pole, seriously challenged by Brazilian teammate Nelson Piquet and Alain Prost. And like late in '86, Nelson Piquet had another unforced error, apparently. After each made one necessary stop for fresh Goodyears, Nigel found himself behind Piquet. It took a special pass to wrestle the lead back just past halfway for Nigel. The Ford-powered Benettons had another good day, Teo Fabi scoring his first points of the year, and Ford's Tyrrells once again controlled the non-turbo class. Ayrton Senna maintained a thin points lead by scoring fourth, and Prost and his McLaren tag Porsche were third. Each of Senna, Mansell, and Prost have netted 2 wins now, and despite 4 seconds, Piquet has no wins. Just 6 points separate the 4.
Speedweek is brought to you by BF Goodrich TA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name.
Coming up, NASCAR is coast to coast on the land, near the seas, and in the air.
And we'll cover what's off the road and in the desert and what's on the sea.
Bob Strange, BF Goodrich test engineer.
The trick to building great all-terrain tires is making them as good off-road as on. All-terrain TAs from BF Goodrich are tested in some of the roughest off-road situations in the world. I believe TA radials are the best performance tires in the world, and I torture them to keep them that way.
TA radials from BF Goodrich, tested tough to make your truck perform.
He makes it look like child's play. But to him, driving the Domino's Pizza Hot One is no game. Watch for Domino's Pizza Team Shearson and co-sponsors Mobil 1 and Coca-Cola in the IndyCar World Series. Keep your eye on a winner. Domino's Pizza delivers Al Unser Jr. A winner picks a winner every time.
Heaven on earth.
Don't get him started about his car.
Hey, Pete, toss me the Quaker State. This new Quaker State with QSX is a miracle. It gives car-carrying people superior engine protection.
Look at the sludge other leading motor oils leave behind. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
And that means I might spend the rest of my life in heaven.
Warned you.
Your Quaker State hero, reaching for the best.
The smaller carburetor rule and new aerodynamics were in effect for the Firecracker 400 at Daytona Saturday morning. Buddy Pittman has the story.
As the 41-car field headed to the green flag Saturday morning, everyone was still wondering what effect those smaller carburetors would have on the race. As expected, it kept the cars running in tighter packs, but still, all in all, the Firecracker turned out to be a fairly quick race. In the early going, it was shaping up to be a battle between pole sitter Davey Allison and the Coors Thunderbird of Bill Elliott. But then, only 7 laps into the race, the first of 3 major cautions, Tim Richmond gets loose coming out of turn 4. He's able to pull it back under control, but Brad Teague, trying to avoid Richmond, winds up smacking the retaining wall at the entrance to pit road. Fortunately, no serious injuries. The next 140 laps would run fairly smoothly, but then only 8 laps from the end of the race, Rick Wilson cuts a tire coming out of turn 4. He sticks it into the wall. Unfortunate break for Wilson. He was running second at the time. But that would set the stage for a 5-lap sprint to the checkered flag and another thrilling finish at Daytona. On the final lap, veteran Bobby Allison takes the lead and never looks back. But the Firecracker would finish with a bang. Coming out of turn 4, a little contact sends Ken Schrader scrambling to the inside. As he tries to pull it back, he goes sailing on his side and up into the wall. Harry Gant, with no place to go, nails Schrader, and they both go sliding along the wall in front of the grandstand. It sounds strange, but Gant's collision actually slowed Schrader down and kept Schrader from going for an even much wilder ride. For a spectacular look at this mishap, let's go to the race cam inside Kenny Schrader's car. This is what it looked like from the driver's point of view. And believe it or not, the race cam continued to function throughout the entire incident. And thanks to NASCAR safety rules, Kenny Schrader was able to walk away from the mishap. Lost in all the action was the fact that Bobby Allison, who won the Firecracker 400 in 1980 and 82, was heading to victory lane once again.
You know, we just had to run our hearts out all day. We were in good shape, and the car was fast, but we never got a break.
until right there at the end. Then we got one. The good Lord, I'll tell you. You know, I hate to beg, but I beg today, the good Lord.
From the Daytona International Speedway, Buddy Pittman reporting for ESPN Speedweek.
The Winston Cup season has reached the halfway mark, and Dale Earnhardt wins a $150,000 bonus from R.J. Reynolds Tobacco for leading points. The other $350,000 is divided among the rest of the top 10, including Elliott, Neil Bonnet, Terry Labonte, and Kyle Petty. Then Darrell Waltrip, Ken Schrader, Ricky Rudd, Richard Petty, and Rusty Wallace. It's ironic, but those new carburetor and aerodynamic rules were a result of Allison's crash at Talladega. At 49, Bobby is the oldest winner in Winston Cup history.
NASCAR's Winston West competitors were part of the inaugural Budweiser Grand Prix of Spokane, Washington. The Winston West and Formula Atlantic teams helped finish the course in Riverfront Park on Friday. This is only the second Winston West event on a street course. Chad Little in number 95 passed pole sitter Herschel McGriff and had things well in hand for the first 53 laps. During that time, Ruben Garcia and Jim Robinson spun in one of the tight corners, were joined by Roman Kalsinski and Roy Smith. Then on lap 53, rain and a 2.5-hour delay for track drying. After the restart, Roy Smith had ignition problems and electrical fire, but after all was repaired, he charged to the front, passed Little, and won by a margin of almost 4 seconds. It was Roy's first win since August of 1982. Mike Alexander originally flagged the winner of the Busch Grand National race Sunday at Georgia International Speedway, but a recheck of the scoring gave the victory to defending series champion Larry Pearson. Darrell Waltrip suffered minor facial cuts and bruises in an accident with Patty Moise and Rick Mast.
Elsewhere in NASCAR, David Green checkered the All-American Challenge race at Bradenton, Florida. Larry Caudle again in the Dash Series at Summerville, South Carolina. And the All-Pro race, Orlando Speed World, captured by Daniel Keene.
A terrifying crash Sunday at the Unlimited Hydroplane race in Madison, Indiana on the Ohio River. Steve Reynolds, piloting the Cellular One, was critically injured. The crash occurred during the fourth heat race. The Cellular One turbine, traveling at over 120 miles an hour, appeared to be in good shape. Then suddenly the boat overturned, scattering debris over the river, but Reynolds remains in the enclosed canopy. In slow motion, you can see the boat riding smoothly in the lead on the first lap of the heat, then the blowover. The craft hits on the left sponson, and the engine cover comes off, but the cockpit stays intact. The 39-year-old Vietnam veteran suffered a severe head injury and had not regained consciousness as of the taping of this show. Doctors at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis are encouraged, however, by his response to stimuli. Jim Kropfeld in the Miss Budweiser was declared overall winner of the Madison Regatta, despite the fact the final 2 heats were canceled because of a thunderstorm. The Miss Miller American, driven by Chip Hanauer, another turbine-powered boat, won Heat 1B, but dropped out of its second heat because of a broken skid fin.
The 6th race of the 10-race season for off-roaders west in Barstow, California. The race started in the late afternoon to beat the worst of the desert heat. Overall, young Rod McCachran of Las Vegas made a shambles of his competition. Ford driver Dave Schopp of San Jacinto, California, overcame this ill-advised excursion down a spectator road to win the big truck class by 4 minutes over the Dodge of Walker Evans of Riverside, California. In the 4x4s, Rod Hall of Reno, Nevada had a narrow lead in his race when he tangled with his buggy and nearly flipped over. But the class win ultimately went to Jack Johnson of Las Vegas, Nevada, the first race that Johnson's new Nissan has ever finished. Class 7 won by Manny Esquera over Roger Mears. In our next segment, the lead is not the place to be at the Glen. First in GTP,
and then the leading wave of this Atlantic crashed ashore.
Whenever I see a scene like this, I wonder, did they have a will? As a court reporter, I know if you die without a will, the courts take over and make important decisions for you. Who gets your money, your property? Who gives away your life savings? Who will be your children's guardian? With no will, the courts decide everything, and your estate pays. Plus, if the state can't find any heirs, they keep your property. Don't worry. The Nationwide Will Plan has developed wills that are legal in all states and can be completed by you in just minutes by following very easy instructions. Call now. Only Nationwide Wills offer you these special features: forms for gifts, provisions for distribution of personal items, forms for children's trusts, and your cost for the will plans is only $9.95. Call this number now and also receive this handsome folder for your legal documents. Don't let a stranger make the most important decisions of your life. Call now.
Everyone wants to beat him. Nigel Mansell, defending British Grand Prix champion, is being challenged in his own backyard. Same-day coverage of the British Grand Prix, Sunday at 4 Eastern on ESPN.
Travel arrangements made through Eastern Airlines. This year, fly non-stop to San Juan, where you can easily connect to one of the many exciting Caribbean destinations. At Eastern, we've got your summer.
ESPN was live Sunday for a 500-kilometer IMSA GTP race on the always demanding Watkins Glen course. Gary Lee has the somewhat surprising details.
The Watkins Glen Camel Continental found only 9 GTP cars on the starting grid. The surprises came early with the starting spots. On the start, Al Holbert took the lead to the first turn, but the vet of Cyril Vandenberger passed to the top spot. The first casualty was a Nissan, as it took off out of control while Elliott Forbes Robinson was at the wheel. EFR was okay, but the car's bodywork was everywhere. After the green return, the number 14 Porsche slowed and pitted with driveline problems. The crew fixed the car after a long stop. It returned, only to lose an engine later. The vet and the number 1 Porsche battled for the lead until the left rear came apart on the vet. Cyril tried to make the pit area, but the wheel and suspension came off 2 turns early. The Jag was starting for the last time in Group 44 colors, but it would not be its day. The Jag had 2 early pit stops to check a handling problem, and then a rear hub broke, causing a spin, and another stop to fix the damage. A 13th overall finish, qualified for 3rd in class. The Applecon Mustang suffered problems all day, stopping on the track with spark box problems. Driver Scott Pruitt changed the spark box, and the Mustang drove on to a 4th place in class. The number 1 Porsche seemed to have an easy win with only the Dyson 962 to contend with until something broke, sending Chip Robinson into the wall, bending the tub, and breaking the suspension. Chip was okay. The car would finish 5th in GTP. The Cobb Chupon car was in the lead by 3 laps and headed for a win. The number 10 Hotchkiss Porsche was cruising in 2nd, 4 laps ahead of 3rd place, which was the first Camel Light car. The Lights had the race of the day as 16 cars took the green. The early leader, the 01 of Klein and Bell, had the field covered until becoming tangled with 3 other cars and bending a left front steering arm. They finished 9th in class. The battle then became a 3-car shootout as they ran near each other all day, swapping positions. Finally, the 09 of Mike Brockman and Steve Durst worked its way into a lap lead over Jim Downing and John Mafucci, with Lime Rock victors David Loring and Pierre Honinger running in 3rd.
In other results at the Glen, Irv Hare won the American Challenge race, and Columbus, Ohio's John Fergus has asserted himself the leader in the Eastern Pro Sports 2000s. John won, while Central Ohio neighbor Colin Truman, son of Jim and Barbara, was 2nd.
The HSC Formula Atlantic race saw the long-awaited debut of a new mark in the series. The new Atlantic Swift car started its maiden race in the front row with Steve Sheldon turning a record lap. The Swift showed lots of promise on the start, falling 2nd to Calvin Fish into the first turn, then leading until Shelton dropped out on lap 13. Early race, deep in the pack, number 00 Jeremy Hill touched another car and spun into the backstretch wall, hitting it head-on, but he climbed out under his own power. Fish then inherited the lead until near the end, when number 7 John Lloyd began to challenge after turning the race's fastest lap. Fish and Lloyd battling for the point, swapping the lead until the next to the last turn. Down the stretch, Lloyd had the inside line. Entering the turn, as he pulled into the groove, he touched Fish. Lloyd flew into the wall head-on, taking a scary ride in the air and across the grass, sliding to a stop backwards. John complained of a tender left foot, but was okay. The finish, Fish his 2nd win of the year, James King, Eric Lang, Tom Knapp, and Mike Greenfield. Jeremy Hill was treated and released by the track physician. X-rays did disclose, however, that John Lloyd broke several bones in his left ankle. He's scheduled to undergo surgery next Monday.
The West Coast version of the very healthy Formula Atlantics of America, the Stefan Petrov Industries Championship, was another event in the streets of downtown Spokane. Their 5th race of the season, Dean Hall, remember, had won 3 in a row. The field executes a clean first lap. The defending series champ, Ted Krappus, the winner of 3 a year ago, beat the number 1 qualifier, Johnny O'Connell, into the first turn. But on lap 5, O'Connell, a regular in the top 5 of National Super Vs a year ago, took the lead and was never caught. Hall is never a factor today and loses the points lead to Johnny. The 1984 National Atlantic champ, Dan Marvin, spins in front of Parker Johnstone, but recovers to 4th. In preface, his teammate and Russell Mazda Series grad Jeff Krosnoff was second, as O'Connell joins Hall as the only other winner so far this year out west in Atlantics.
In a moment, well under 100 on the 5th mile produces a big track flip,
while well over 200 on the quarter mile produces a 5th mile flip.
Hi. I've been looking all over for this terrific video cassette I heard about. It's called Not So Great Moments in Sports. Like one scene is where Billy Martin tries to give an ump a shoe shine. That's a fantastic video. Not So Great Moments is 45 minutes of the funniest sports footage I've ever seen. Great, so you have it. No, it's not in video stores yet. But you get Not So Great Moments free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. You get 25 weeks of America's best sports coverage, including the Pro Football Spectacular and the beautiful swimsuit issue. You even get a handy NFL schedule. And Not So Great Moments in Sports? You get it all. How do I get it? Just call Sports Illustrated's toll-free number. Yeah, I'll bet they raised the price of the magazine, right? It's over 47% off the cover price. Just 3 installments of $9.89 each. You can even put it on a credit card. I gotta get to a phone. What's that number again? Here, 1-800-621-8000. Hi, have you heard of Not So Great Moments in Sports?
Bob Strange, B.F. Goodrich test engineer.
All week long, I test tires. But on weekends, I drive race cars. In some ways, tire testing's just as tough. Comparing one tire with another takes precision driving. I believe TA Radios are the best performance tires in the world. And I punish them to keep them that way.
TA Radios from B.F. Goodrich. Tested tough to make your car perform.
There's a better way to find a better job.
Honey, look at this.
The National Business Employment Weekly.
It's published by the Wall Street Journal. It lists hundreds of high-paying jobs all across the country.
What am I doing with all of these, now that I have the National Business Employment Weekly?
Pick up the National Business Employment Weekly at a newsstand or call 800-372-3000 and receive 8 issues by first-class mail for only $35. 800-372-3000.
The next time somebody expected wins at the Indianapolis Speedrome on one of our live telecasts, it will be, well, unexpected. An all-time record 55 entries showed up last Thursday, creating 11 prelims. The night's hardest crash, Rick Verdine, in his heat, 3 complete barrel rolls. In the 100-lap main, young John Murphy scooted to the lead, soon pressured by defending Speedrome champ, Ohio's Mac McClellan. Roadster-mounted Sooner Donnie Jones looked like a threat until looping. And on this track, too tough to pass, Ted Hines gets tonight's nod for passing the most. Meanwhile, McClellan pressured for the entire race, but never got by. And have you ever seen a more excited winner, first privately in the car, and then tears of joy in victory lane? Do you think it would happen to you?
I had no idea, but every yellow, I just thought about talking to you, Larry. That was...
USAC ran 15 races in 5 days last week. Among the winners, Mel Kenyon, his 109th career USAC feature, Billy Vukovich, the 3rd in Supermodified, P.J. Jones, Parnelli's son, in Western States Midgets, and Billy Moyer twice in late models.
Although Doug Wolfgang won 3 races, consistency paid off for Keith Kaufman, the overall winner of the All-Star Circuit of Champions Speedweek in Ohio. And Steve Kinzer won twice in World of Outlaw Racing. He was disqualified from a 3rd win, the victory given to Bobby Davis Jr.
Rain postponed the finals of the IHRA drag race in Milan, Michigan until Monday. Arnie Karp won Alcohol Funny Cars and Gene Snow his 2nd straight in Pro Dragsters. But the real excitement came during the quarterfinals of Pro Dragsters. Hank Indris against Earl Whiting. Indris is upside down and over the guardrail backwards. But miraculously, he's able to walk away. Here's a slow-motion replay of the crash. The problem started when Indris lost a motor and oil was dropped on the rear tires. Hank's car overturns when it reaches the grass, then vaults the guardrail, and finally the machine comes to a rest, but there's not much left of it. Hank is shaken, but after treatment for minor injuries, he returns to the track later that same day. In the Pro Stock Finals, it was Bob Glidden against Ricky Smith. Glidden runs a 7:26 en route to his 2nd consecutive IHRA win. Smith shuts off at midway. The Nitro Funny Car Finals matched Mark Oswald against Kenny Bernstein. It's a fairly close race, although Kenny wins with a 5.67, his third IHRA victory of 1987.
Sometimes a drag race is won or lost by reaction time, the amount of time for a driver to react to the green light. Kenny Bernstein found out what happens when you react too quickly in this week's Bernstein File, brought to you by Quaker State.
Well, if you're ever at a National Hot Rod Association drag meet and you want to come and test your skills in the Winston Drag Racing Center, whether you can be a professional car driver, it's all right here. This whole setup, besides having beautiful music and a beautiful bunch of pictures on the back wall, you get to actually race against the Christmas tree, against your opponent, to see how your reactions are. The Christmas tree is just like it is on the starting line. It beeps down, the yellow blinks, and off it goes on green, and it shows you what kind of reaction time you have. Over 160,000 people have been through this center since the first of the year in January. And now I'm going to race my little buddy Dean and see if I can beat him. Are you ready, Dean? All right, off we go. Oh, I red lighted and lost the race, and Dean's the winner. I'm Kenny Bernstein.
Now here's this week's trivia question. Who was the 1978 SCCA National Formula Atlantic Champion? A. Howdy Holmes, B. K.K. Rosberg, C. Price Cobb, D. Jeff Wood, or E. Bobby Rahal? I'll have the answer in a moment.
Heaven on earth.
Don't get him started about his car.
Hey, Pete, toss me the Quaker State. This new Quaker State with QSX is a miracle. It gives car-carrying people superior engine protection.
Look at the sludge other leading motor oils leave behind. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
And that means I might spend the rest of my life in heaven.
Warned you.
Your Quaker State Speedrome, engine for the best.
He makes it look like child's play. But to him, driving the Domino's Pizza Hot One is no game. Watch for Domino's Pizza Team Shearson and co-sponsors Mobil 1 and Coca-Cola in the IndyCar World Series. Keep your eye on a winner. Domino's Pizza delivers Al Unser Jr. A winner picks a winner every time.
The high-speed excitement of USAC racing. From unpredictable midgets to high-powered sprints and stock cars. It's red-hot auto racing all summer long. Thursday nights at 10 Eastern on ESPN.
Here's the answer to this week's trivia question, perhaps the most interesting top 5 in Atlantic history, and they finished in points the way they're listed. A. Howdy Holmes was the series champion in '78. Rosberg, of course, went on to become a Formula One champ. Price won this week's GTPs, and Bobby Rahal continues to lead IndyCar points with this week's second place.
Remember last year when Group B cars were banned from rallying because they were too fast? Well, Jerry Garrett has found many of them at Pikes Peak as crews prepare for this weekend's hill climb.
This year, the pits at the Pikes Peak hill climb look like a parc fermé from an international rally. That's because Pikes Peak is one of the few places where it's still legal to race Group B cars, those dangerously fast machines that are now outlawed in rallying. The factory teams have brought in their best drivers. Audi has Germany's Walter Röhrl, a two-time world champion, and Peugeot has another champ in Ari Vatanen of Finland, and the great Czech Armada of Kenya. Mazda has countered with New Zealander Rod Millen and a brand new turbocharged RX-7 from Racing Beat. Competition has been extremely close all week. No one will predict who will win, but everyone predicts Bobby Unser's year-old course record is going to be obliterated. Reporting for Speedweek from Pikes Peak, this is Jerry Garrett.
Might mention that Bobby Unser will not be back to defend his title, and Pikes Peak is just one of many events we'll cover for you next week on Speed Week. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newber. This Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have same-day coverage of the British Grand Prix from Silverstone. And we'll see you, of course, next week here on Speed Week.
Speed Week has been brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil. And by Dodge, setting new standards of performance.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Speedweek.